This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
It is 10:07 on the East Coast, 7:07 in Mike King World, Las Vegas, Nevada. And welcome to Money Info, the first one for 2017. And a very pleasant good morning, guys. How are you?
Good morning. Got a great bull market on our hands here.
Yeah, it keeps climbing and climbing. You just wonder, hey, when are the brakes going to go on here? I mean, it's amazing.
We got a terrific supply management report, 54.7. That was outstanding number.
They always look best at the top.
Yeah. Oh, Charles. Good. Hey, happy New Year to you, Charles, as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
I'm not bearish, but just remember they do always look best at the top and worst at the bottom. You have to look at the market sentiment too, and the numbers do look good and everything, but again, market sentiment between neutral and bullish, you have roughly 75% of the survey. So with less than, with barely a quarter of the people negative, everybody is never right. And this would probably be one of those times. The world does not look as good as it looks here. And that can only go on for so long.
Well, it'll be better.
Not to be a wet blanket. I'm a little tired from watching the game last night.
What game?
What was the over/under in the USC game?
Oh,
100?
man. Was that great or what?
And they still went over?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've covered some real exciting Rose Bowl games in all of my years. And, but, boy, last night was truly amazing.
Boy, if you got up to go to the bathroom or get a glass of water or something, you missed the score.
Oh, yeah. And hats off to Penn State. I mean, it's the school itself has been through so much. And those seniors, there are only 4 of them who stuck it out there. And hats off to those kids. I mean, that was a game effort against USC. There's no doubt. But anyway, well, and I'm sure the excitement spread all the way over to Mike King's house in Las Vegas, seeing that there's a huge alumni group in Las Vegas at USC. So, yeah, amazing stuff. Yeah, it was a great game, and it was the only good game of the day. And of course, we had three of them. So,
right.
Yeah. But anyway, well, guys, we talked a little bit about it in the last show of 2016. Any trends that you guys are going to be kind of looking at? I mean, of course, obviously the whack job in North Korea is mouthing off again, which could cause a few problems.
Well, we're already in position in one of the trends, and we've traded it profitably already once.
Oh, okay. What's that?
It's really, really difficult to not be long a Lockheed or a Northrop or a United Technologies. Right now, we're long the calls in the Lockheed Martin. The stock is up this morning. It's 252 3/4, up about 282 on the day. We're long some 260 calls, which may seem like they're kind of a distance out of the money, but the last time we traded this stock in early December, we traded it in the big account, the actual stock, and I think we only took about 40 points out of it. I think we paid about $230 and sold it at around $268 or $270. and then it pulled back in, and we bought the calls this time instead of buying the stock. But that whole group looks like it would be really difficult to argue that there's an upside in that one. Also, we're long a little GSK, which is GlaxoSmithKline, which is a play both on the emerging market and on healthcare. It's funny, on one of the midday shows on Friday, Fast Money on CNBC, where somebody was talking about healthcare and biotech, and one of the guys that I consider to be a little smarter than the average bear said, let's see, caters to the biggest demographic in history of the world, makes you live longer or feel better. Yeah, I like the drug stocks.
Yes.
And so you got to think. You got to think about that, and of course, all of the Hillary stuff and all of we're going to take or Elizabeth Warren stuff. We're going to take these companies, even some of the Trump tweets earlier on about healthcare and the cost of prescription drugs. These things have been pretty much demolished. And so we're in the GSK, we're in both the options. I think we're in the options, but we have been in the options and traded them profitably from about 70 cents to $1.30, $1.40 last year, but we're in the stock about 36.5 or 37. It's 38.5. It's not huge, but it has come down an awful long way and is rolling back to the upside. And could easily be a, $45 or $50 stock, this year. So, that's another trend that we like. And frankly, with all of the world wanting to generate inflation, we're not in the gold per se, although we are in the silver in the Hecla, which has been a favorite of ours. Remember,
for years.
We paid $3.95 for the stock. We sold some of it at $6.50. It's $5.30 right now. We still own a bunch of it, but we also own the GDX, which is the gold miners. We paid about $20.50 for it. $20.81 actually, I think we paid for it. But we also wrote options against it at $21.50 for about $1.40 or $1.30, and the next day we covered them at 40 cents, and the stock came all the way back from 18.50 or 19. Today it's 21.02, up about a dime, has been as high as 21.53. While it's a play on gold, like Hecla, we deal with
Saucier.
These are the miners. And the miners are not as attuned to the day-by-day fluctuations in the gold. They either have a good lifting price, like some of the oils, or they don't. And so, that's a trend towards higher inflation from people who make money taking it out of the ground. So those are three pretty important trends for the coming year.
Yeah, well, I know you and Mike have been talking about Hecla mining for 10 years. It's amazing how that stock just keeps going and going. Of course, the company has been going since the 1800s. So yeah, amazing stuff. Is Robert on the line with us, Saucier?
Yes, I am.
Hey, Robert, welcome aboard and happy 2017 to you.
Well, good morning and Happy New Year's to all of you as well. Thank you.
Well, tell us a little bit about your company, Galaxy Gaming. I know Mike has spoken very highly about your company.
Yeah, maybe the first thing to do is, Mike, if you don't mind, maybe give kind of your perspective.
we're headquartered here in Las Vegas, so Mike has been over in his casino operation a few times. Mike, you want to give the listeners a little background?
Yeah, the table game industry is unique and a very clever way of generating entertainment and challenges to people that come into casinos. And there's just hundreds of these games in Las Vegas and then all over the country. And I believe that you've proliferated into many countries and many cities. And so it's a growing industry. There's not a lot of competition because the games are very unique.
Yeah, I think the best way to describe that, expand upon that, is that if you think of casinos and you go into casinos, there's obviously rows of slot machines. There could be Keno, bingo. In Nevada, we have race and sports books. There's various forms of gaming, but what we focus on are the table games, which are what you traditionally found in casinos. And in that space, there were quite a few competitors, but over the years, they've been gobbled up. We've done, I think, a half a dozen acquisitions over the last 7 or 8 years. We have our main competitor, which is now Scientific Games. They've also done a number of competition acquisitions. And so as a result of that, there's really only two main players in the space. I mean, Scientific Games is number one. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. Galaxy Gaming is second in table games. And then behind us, number three is kind of a distant third, if you will. So it's really shaping up to be a two-horse race.
Well, Robert, tell us.
Correct me
go
if
ahead,
I'm wrong,
Charles.
Robert. Didn't you? Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you guys a couple of years ago put out an app, not so much for the gaming, but actually for IR for the company?
Yes, we did. We experimented with that a few years ago.
I thought that was really great because it, so many people using mobile for everything, including gaming. I thought having an app out there that really gave people the opportunity to see what the company was about was, a great step forward in, in addressing the need for people to be able to get information, on the company. And frankly, from the IR side, I have always been kind of the attitude that you need to market your stock to investors the same way that you market your product, to the end users. And frankly, people need it spoon-fed to them in a manner that they can absorb it. And I thought that the app was just a great idea.
Yeah, that's fascinating that, you would come up with that. And how long ago was that?
I think we first introduced it, I want to say about, maybe 3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Wow, were you guys
and
ahead of the
I
curve?
I had it on my iPhone as, just something that I found to be novel. And frankly, in the IR space that we operate, I used it as, as a sales tool for other people because I thought it was so forward-thinking.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You have to think that if management is that well attuned to, the marketplace for its shareholders, that it, has to be pretty well attuned to how it does its business.
What's interesting, Robert, about your company is that, obviously, Mike mentioned about the United States, but you are worldwide, obviously North America, Caribbean, Britain, Europe, Africa. Not much else left. Now, do you go on cruise ships as well?
Yes, we're actually we've been partners with a number of the different cruise lines. Most recently, our relationship with Carnival Cruise Lines. You may not be familiar, but Carnival actually has quite a few brands under the Carnival Cruise Line Corporation.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for example, Princess Cruise Lines, they have a Holland American. Those are all Carnival Cruise flags. And essentially, they have, in Carnival Cruise Lines, they have 105, approximately 105 ships that have casinos. And, we expanded our relationship with them recently that we're going to have all of our games in all of their casinos. So chances are that if you get on a Carnival cruise ship, which our company happens to be doing that in a couple of weeks, but the games that you'll see in the casinos are going to be Galaxy Gaming products.
Boy, that's phenomenal.
Why don't you be a little more specific about what the Galaxy Game products actually are? Because I think that most people who think about, quote, table games when they walk into a casino, they think about, blackjack and roulette and things of that nature where, they walk in, they see a dealer who, is part of the casino staff dealing at a table or maintaining a game for the casino. Can you explain the difference?
So traditionally, the table games that have been invented, and you have to realize that every game has one or more inventors, but the traditional games that we're familiar with, such as blackjack, craps, and roulette, those games are in the public domain and have been for many, many years. The concept of a proprietary table game first came out probably almost 30 years ago with a game called Caribbean Stud. And that was a game that was a proprietary game, and the owners of the inventors of that game locked up their intellectual property through patents and trademarks, and then they turned around and they licensed that game to casinos. That was a very successful game, and that really is what started the industry. That was then followed by another game, a proprietary game called Let It Ride, which also became extremely popular. And then that followed with another game called Three-Card Poker, which was invented by a British friend of mine. And that ended up becoming one of the very top games in the world. So that's essentially what we are involved in, is we're involved in other aspects of table games as well. We provide electronic progressive systems, so a person can bet $1 and win hundreds of thousands of dollars. A lot of tracking that we do, but essentially the common denominator of our games is that we use the casinos use live dealers. They use real chips, real cards, and the games are proprietary to Galaxy Gaming. So the casinos pay us a fee every month, or sometimes we participate in the revenue activity at the casino. But our company is essentially recurring revenue. In fact, I think recurring revenue makes up, if I'm not mistaken, approximately about 99% of our total revenue. And the margins are very high. Typically, our margins exceed 95%. So if you have a business that you have 99% recurring revenue and margins in excess of 95%, it's quite compelling to be a part of it. So.
Yeah, we'd take that. Holy smokes. That's amazing. Okay, so, and you just answered the question, when I was looking at some of the graphics, I was thinking, okay, are these electronic games or are these real, human games? And you already answered that. So that's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, we've taken those table games and we've spread them out a little bit. So you can go online, for example. So we have partnerships. Several of our partnerships is one, we have a partnership with a company called Games Marketing. They're the largest table game online company in the world. So they distribute our games to a lot of the online gaming sites. We also have a partnership with World Poker Tour. You may be familiar with them. They're
Oh,
the ones
yeah.
right. So that's a great partnership we have with them. And then more recently, we have a partnership with the number one electronic table game. So this is a table game that is a machine. So it's all the dealing is done electronically. There's no live dealer involved. There can be with some of the products, but the number one company does that is a company called Interblock, and we entered into an agreement with them late last year, and so you'll be seeing a lot of Galaxy products, a lot of our games on the Interblock platform. So that's a pretty exciting deal for us as well.
Boy, that sounds amazing. The cruise side, that fascinates me. I mean, have you found an increase in people cruising and their gambling numbers going up on an annual basis, or has it been pretty steady over the years?
You know, I found that the gaming industry, it's kind of like cosmetics in that it's not really affected by, a down economy. And so what's really interesting is that one of the biggest, if you chart back our company and you look at our growth, and we're going to be celebrating 20 years this year, but if you go back and you look at some of our strongest growth periods, one of our biggest growth period was actually in the months after 9/11, which is really, when you think about it, it's pretty amazing, because it's contrary to what the casinos were doing. The casinos at the time were, they were, pulling back. The capex was off. They were actually, some casinos were aware of were enclosing entire wings until the economy came back. And but you know what? Everybody, we got through it, and our company actually, like I said before, had probably its biggest growth period during that time, and that was because our products don't really require capex from the casinos, but they do make the casinos more profitable. So the casinos had less business, but were making more money on the business that they had because of the products that we provide them.
Wow, that's amazing. Recession-proof, huh? Holy smokes! Yeah, that's amazing. What I was fascinated about too, and Mike and Charles and I were talking about this a few weeks back, is the fact that you also have a machine, I guess, a detection machine called Spectrum Vision, which helps the casinos out as well. I think that's fascinating. So you're in the security area as well.
Yes, Spectrum Vision is a product that we produced. It actually has a limited market, so we're not going to see a whole lot of growth with that. But essentially, what it does is it detects marked cards. So obviously, where there's gaming, there's cheating, and people attempt to try to get an edge. So sometimes the way that happens is people will mark the cards, and our Spectrum Vision product is designed to do just that. It detects it. It was actually used by one of the gaming commissions to help prosecute a case where they really didn't have sufficient evidence to try to get a conviction until they used our product that could detect where the markings on the cards were. So, but it's not really a main part of our core business. We're investing our R&D dollars into the electronics that we put on the table, such as our progressive systems, our bonus jackpot system, that sort of thing.
Sure, but I think that's a fascinating add-on, though. I mean, you think about that, and, you may only need that machine once a year or something like that if you're a casino, but, hey, if it catches somebody, I think that's absolutely phenomenal. So now where are you going? I mean, let's take a look at 2017 and beyond for your company. What are your goals?
Well, I think we're very, very well poised. One of the challenges that we've had as a company in the past is really cash flow. Although we generate a tremendous amount of cash flow and have historically, because of a major acquisition that we did, we were paying off some financing, and we were reducing the debt at a dramatic rate. But we were paying almost $5 million a year to reduce that debt. So all that cash was just being sucked out of the business to reduce the debt. We got the refinancing done in the fall of last year, and that really freed up our cash flow. So now the company has got tremendous cash flow that we're actually keeping in the bank. And so where we're investing that is really in two primary areas. One is we're expanding our sales team. So, we've had pretty good sales with the small sales force that we've had, but we're increasing that dramatically. We've been fortunate that a number of competitors have come on board with us, and then the second area is R&D. So we have some projects that have been on the boards for a long time that we've been wanting to accomplish, but really just didn't have the cash flow to be able to do that until now. So we have some pretty exciting projects that are coming out. At least one new game that I'm familiar with. We're upgrading our electronics in terms of our progressive and bonus jackpot systems. That's pretty exciting. And then we have one or two other products that we're pretty excited about that we'll be showing towards the end of 2017.
You hear about Silicon Valley and, a lot of inventions and stuff there. How does someone invent a game? I mean, I just think that's absolutely fascinating that you would have minds that could do something like that.
Yeah, you never know where a good idea is going to come from. So, you listen to a lot of different ideas. Most of the games that we have, we've developed in-house. There are a few games where, an inventor will come to us and we like the core idea and we may make some modifications to that. But, there's no shortage of people that are coming up with game ideas. I mean, we probably get easily 100 new games introduced to us in a year. You think about the casino industry, you have people that are dealers or pit bosses that are standing there behind the games, and they're almost numb to the activity, and they come up with ideas that says, here's something that this would be an interesting twist. And so again, it's like one of the popular games that we have. One of our more recent ones is called High Card Flush. It right now is the hottest new game in the gaming industry. It was actually invented by a card dealer at one of the strip casinos in Las Vegas. And he came up with the idea, but he had difficulty trying to get the game out on his own. And so he came to us, and we went ahead and made a few adjustments to the game. But then we were able to distribute it in our network, and the game's been very successful for us.
That's funny. I was going to ask you, do you ever get input from people who work in the casinos to say, hey, I think I have an idea? That's amazing. That is really amazing. Charles, you got to have some questions here. This is a wild story.
No, I've been familiar with the company. I think, frankly, the stock has done remarkably well this year. Last year at this time, the stock was about 15 cents and had a low of about 12 cents, and is currently 60 cents. So that kind of speaks for itself. I mean, last year was a good year for a lot of companies, but you don't really see a lot of 500% gainers in that list. So, and if the stock goes through 65 cents, we'll be headed towards, new all-time highs, it looks like. So, it's hard to comment on something like that. It's very well supported. around the area that it was at when Robert was talking about refinancing and everything at, in the fall of last year. So, that 40 cents is 45 cents is an area of, really good support. And frankly, when I say support, it doesn't mean that I think it's going to get back there. It just means that, if it does, it won't be a problem. It will be very well supported there. Robert, I have a question, though. What do you think about, the point of saturation for gaming? I mean, you can go anywhere and gamble. I know that it's kind of guns and bullets. If you can go, if everybody sells a gun, you want to know who makes the bullets. If everybody's gambling, you want to know who provides the games. But are we getting to a point of saturation in the gaming industry itself?
I think we're seeing some of that, and I think that, excuse me, I think that a lot of it has to do with the changing generations that are getting involved in gaming. So let me give an example. If you take a look at slot machines and what's happening with slot machines, they've actually been in decline for a number of years. And the common thread that people believe in, that what's happening is that the older generation that is used to slot machines is dying off. The younger generation isn't as interested in the slot machines because they lack the social interaction. So if you think of the younger generation, they're very computer savvy, they're very internet savvy, they all have smartphones that they carry around. Most of them are involved in social media, like the Facebooks and the Twitters. And so the last thing they want to do is go to a casino and sit in front of a machine with a video screen and, watch little symbols go around and lose money to it.
I think they also have a little bit more ego, and they don't want to play a game that they think is pure chance. They want to play something they think they can somewhat influence by skill.
Well, yeah, and the slot companies, many of them believe that, and so there's been a big push for skill-based gaming. Here again, the problem is that the younger generation, they have better games on their smartphones than what the casino can provide. So, an example was, I'll give an example of a casino that I was in not long ago. I was having dinner. It's on the Strip. And as I walked through the casino, I noticed that there was row after row of empty slot machines. And the restaurant I was in, which was a high-end restaurant, was filled with people, many of them quite young, and you wonder how can they afford to even eat at this place. Then I went over to the table games, and the table games were not completely full, but they were extremely robust, particularly compared to the slot machines. But the biggest thing was the huge line that I saw. I saw this giant line of all these young people in this casino, and when I inspected the line, it was because they were waiting to get into the nightclub. And that's been the shift here, is that the casinos are making a lot of money on these nightclubs that they have, and it's because of the social interaction that people can experience, the live social interaction they can experience in a nightclub. That's why the slot machine, sitting in front of a machine by yourself, doesn't, excite you, but sitting at a live table game with your friends and being able to, bet on each other's hand or, high-five each other when somebody has a great hand, that's the thing that people like. And so that's why, although the slots are in decline, the numbers are showing the table games are on the increase. So we think we're well-positioned in this industry right now.
Boy, that's fascinating, Robert. That really is. What about the growth of the Indian casino market in the United States? I mean, obviously, right here where we are, the Seminoles are huge. Miccosukee down around Miami has been around for years. There seems to be a tremendous growth of these throughout the United States.
Yeah, that's true, and that'll continue. Probably not at the same pace as previously. So both the tribal and the non-tribal, there's been growth there for different reasons. Obviously, the tribal, it's a very strong economic engine for them. In the non-tribal, the states have, look at all the states have legalized gaming and the amount of expansion that's going on. I mean, most recently, up there in Massachusetts, for example, that there's a number of new casinos going up there. Wynn's got a big casino that's going to be opening in a few years. That's because of the hunger of governments to get money. And so I think that, that it's not going to continue at quite the pace that it has been, but it's not, it's not going backwards by any means. I mean, it's still the concept of expansion of these casinos is continuing to grow. And then the other thing that has happened is that once there's a little bit of a market saturation, like you would expect, the stronger players get stronger, and the weaker players just go away because they can't compete. So more and more investment is made in these establishments. Casinos, sometimes in the tribal arena, you'll see that they may start with a few slot machines and a tent, but eventually they have a permanent building, and then eventually they add hotel rooms, and then they turn the thing into a resort. So what's happened is that it's become more than just gaming to them. It's the complete resort experience.
So it's not going to be Starbucks, Greg, but it's also not going to be Boston Chicken.
Well, I was fascinating, Charles, that Robert was talking about casinos going into your lovely state of Massachusetts because they're looking for more money from you guys. I love it.
Because they're so effective in the way that they spend it.
Yes, they have to buy.
The only place that's worse than here. It's too bad Gary's not here, because the only place that's worse than Massachusetts is Connecticut.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt. Well, they have to buy a lot of salt for the road. They don't even know what that is in Las Vegas. They have a lot of dust, maybe, but not salt, So, Robert, when you look at these, we keep seeing, left and right, whether it's Royal Caribbean or Carnival coming out with these mega ships. Are the casinos that much bigger, or is it just the ship that's larger?
No, clearly the casinos are the size of the casinos are going to be proportionate to the number of passengers they have with the ships. So clearly there's a big difference in the size of the casinos with the bigger ships.
I think that's fascinating. So, where, looking at this year, obviously, as Charles mentioned, your stock's up 500%. Holy smokes. I can't even comprehend something that big. But
and it's not a spike.
Yeah,
it's not a spike. I mean,
right.
It's a nice, steady, classic looking chart with consolidations and a move higher, and then another consolidation and another leg up, and some backing and filling. I mean, it's a very impressive chart.
And if you go to otcmarkets.com, you can look at the sales yearly and quarterly for the last 4 years, and there's been a steady growth, very healthy, steady climb in both sales and gross earnings. So it's very constructive. This stock is ready to explode.
Mike, what's the stock symbol?
G like golf, L Larry, X-ray, zebra.
Okay. All right. And you can find that on the OTC, right?
otcmarkets.com. You get a complete report by putting in GLXZ.
And, of course, obviously, you and Charles keep everybody apprised on the PrincetonResearch.com as well.
Sure.
Boy, Robert, you've got a great story to tell. I mean, I just think this is absolutely fascinating. And what's interesting to me is the fact that you guys have already seen the spike in the younger generation, if you will, and the keys and the buttons to push with that generation, which I think is phenomenal.
Well, yeah, I mean, we think that, first of all, we wanted to capture the market that was there, and we continue to expand in that, but also it's nice to ride the wave of a new generation coming in that likes our products. One of the things that we've had a big advantage on is again, I mentioned the high, very ultra high percentage of recurring revenue and also the gross margins, and that's resulted in our company being extremely profitable. If you saw our last quarter, you would see that year over year we increased our EBITDA like 68% and our net income nearly 600%. A lot of that was due to the fact that we were involved in a significant lawsuit with a competitor, which ate up a lot of our capital. So if you think about where our cash flow was, you'll find this interesting. We've long ago run out of NOLs, so we're a taxpayer, and we'll probably pay about a 40% effective tax rate. In addition to that, I mentioned that we paid nearly $5 million of debt down, which was done with post-tax dollars. And on top of that, we had well over $1 million invested in a lawsuit, and this was all just in the last year or so. So all that cash was being sucked out of the company, and fortunately we won the lawsuit, but also we don't have those expenses. We don't have the debt service that we used to have, and then of course we're all looking forward to a reduced income tax rate with the new Trump administration. So I think 2017 bodes quite well for the company.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you think there's really going to be lower taxes? Come on. Really?
Why not?
Count on it, Greg. Count on it.
I hope so. I hope so. Boy, that would be nice. Wow. That's amazing.
Well, not for you.
Yeah, I know.
You're not a corporation.
Sure we are.
Not for you.
Sure we are. You bet. We're a mega
okay.
We're a mega broadcast operation. Although
okay.
Yeah, although thank goodness we don't have the same problems Cumulus does with their $1.8 billion note that they've got to pay off in a very short period of time. Yeah, but Robert, you had mentioned, started touching on goals for this year. Obviously getting rid of the debt, that lawsuit, that's all behind you now. Now you can look ahead, and of course, stock's up 500%. Wow, that's not a bad way to start the year.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is that, we talked a little bit before about IR, and I know people who are involved in IR don't like to hear this, but our focus in the past hasn't been on IR, and that's because I think it's important that, you take care of the company first, that you're involved in the blocking and tackling, and that's really where our focus has been, is keeping this company very strong, very healthy. We're never going to have, with the type of business that we have now, we're never going to have those huge spikes where all of a sudden, one quarter we went up 50% over the quarter before. That's because we're building a recurring revenue base. And so, I think we've averaged over the years a 15% growth. We think that with some of the investments we're making that can climb higher, maybe 20, 25%. But I think the main thing is really, if you take a look at the fundamentals of the company, take a look at the financials. One of the things I learned a long time ago was that there's an inverse relationship between the amount of explaining you have to do and how good your numbers are. So, we point people to our numbers and say that, we must be doing something right.
That's amazing. And for folks driving around in your cars and you're wondering what in the world's an IR, investor relations is what he's talking about. Is that correct, sir?
Yes. Sorry.
That's all right. Hey, believe me, we all have the magic acronyms there. Well, Robert, I think you've got an amazing story. Mike, have you got some questions for Robert?
The sales and earnings trend is phenomenal, and so without disclosing what you can't until you post it for everybody, you can still tell us if the industry is just as robust as ever here.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, one of the things, if you follow the company, one of the things that you know that we don't do is we've never provided guidance. And also, even with our press releases, we never talk about something that we're going to do or something that's pending. Everything that we announce is something that is clearly something that is done, because we never want to have to go back and then correct it that something didn't happen. One thing, one example I can talk about that because the press release I think is going out today or tomorrow. The CEO of one of our competitors is actually starting with Galaxy. Well, today's his first day at the office, and we're very excited that one of our competitors, their CEO, looked at our company and liked the path better, and so that was something that we're quite excited of. He's actually going to be our head of our business development. So the skills that he's acquired with his prior company and some of his other experience is going to be used to help further grow our company and get us into some expanded areas within the table game industry. That's one thing I want to stress on, is that we don't have a plan, we've never had a plan to get outside of the table game industry, but we can certainly expand the products and services that we offer within table games.
Wow, it's an amazing story, and it's a business that just keeps on growing and growing, whether you're on land or on ships around the world. I think that's amazing. Do you also have an agreement with like Royal Caribbean, or is it just pretty much the Carnival company?
I don't know all the cruise ships that we do business with. I do know that we do business with a number of them. There's quite a few different companies that are under different corporate groups, and I'm not familiar with all of them, but clearly the leader in the industry is Carnival.
Oh yeah.
And so whatever they do, their competitors are going to pay attention to. So I think what we don't have in terms of the other cruise lines, eventually they'll be coming our way.
Well, I'll tell you, you've got an amazing story at Galaxy Gaming. Robert Saucier is the president and CEO and chairman of the board of Galaxy. Great story. Needless to say, like all the businesses that are on this show, feel free. You can utilize the audio from the show. Mike will have it in his paws by this afternoon. So feel free, put it on your website, and hey, best of luck and a great 2017 for you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Robert Saucier, the part of the leadership team at Galaxy Gaming. And Michael, good get there. What a great story.
He's the founder,
mm-hmm.
and he's really very knowledgeable. And this is a great, this is a gem. I've been a shareholder for 2 years, and I love this company. It has a great potential, and it has a better potential now than when I invested in it 2.5 years ago.
Sure. Well, yeah. Just look at all the places that have opened up.
Go to OTCmarkets.com, and you can look at all the numbers. They look fantastic.
Well, that sounds great.
Slow growth.
That's the nature of it. And again, what is the stock symbol, Michael?
G as in golf, L Larry, X-ray, zebra, GLXZ.
And that's on OTC Markets.
Yes, it is.
Wow,
it is.
That's great.
And we do investor relations for the company and get paid as a result of that. And that's our business.
Boy, that sounds great. Well, we've got about 2.5 minutes left. Michael, what do you see that's looking interesting for this year?
Well, we're we're in a tremendous bull market. I mean, if you just look at the numbers that are coming out day after day, like the Institute of Supply Management, which is the old survey of purchasing managers around the world. In our country, it's growing very nicely. And yet, there's a lot of bears around, people who are not really that bullish. And while it's bullish, if you look at our market letter and you look at the market laboratory, the percentage of bulls is still only 45.6. It's not over 50%. So while the average is 38.4% and we're at 45.6, there's still room for growth. And so like this morning, I'm buying Nike, NKE on the opening. I'm looking to buy stocks, not sell them.
Interesting.
And the market was up 160. Right now it's up 81.94. So, we've given up a good piece of this morning's little bounce. I don't know what the volume looks like. It's a little early to be able to make any judgment on that.
But it's a nice start to the year anyway. I mean, we could have opened lower. We opened substantially higher. And it just shows the trend that we're in. It's a bullish trend.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a fascinating year. I really do, and you hear some of the companies that have talked about bringing jobs back to the U.S., like IBM and a few others, and you think, okay, who knows what Trump's going to be up to, but it seems like he's met with a lot of people, and they seem to be impressed when they come out of the meeting. So I don't know.
Hey, Greg.
You don't know.
Greg,
Yeah.
we had something interesting happen up here. NBC has a new affiliate up here.
Aha.
They changed as of the first of the year, and WHDH, which was the original channel.
Yeah.
Now all of the news people who were on that I thought were NBC people are not, and it's like the old station, which was Channel 7, and it's now Channel 10. All of those Channel 7 personalities that I'm so used to watching are all gone.
Yeah. Yes, we know. Believe me, Carol and I know the feeling. Well, Carol worked at WBZ in Boston when it was an NBC station. So, Happy New Year, guys. We'll see you next week. 2017 rolls on here on WPSL, Port St. Lucie. Talk